Now let's jump over to the realm in a galaxy far, far away and talk about The Mandalorian Season 3. By the time this goes up, Chapter 20 or Season 3 Episode 4 would have already dropped on Disney+, but this article coming from The Direct. The Mandalorian Season 3 suffers weak premiere viewership. The Mandalorian Season 3 premiere suffered a surprisingly weak performance on Disney Plus compared to the other Star Wars series. Having kickstarted Disney Plus's blockbuster efforts as the first streaming series from the Marvel or Star Wars universes, The Mandalorian has turned into a cultural phenomenon over recent years, with Season 2 setting records for the service at the time. With over 2 years past since Season 2's finale, excitement for the show remains as high as ever after its trailer broke Star Wars records. According to The Wrap, which shares data collected by Samba TV, The Mandalorian Season 3 premiere had a relatively weak performance in comparison to some of the other Star Wars Disney Plus series. I was trying to read a little bit ahead there. Although its viewership exceeded the recent Andor by close to 50%, and that can very easily be explained by the fact that Andor was a show about a character in Rogue One that dies at the end of Rogue One and is a prequel series to Rogue One that simply nobody asked for, therefore nobody cared. Despite the fact that I've heard very good things about Andor, I have absolutely no interest in watching Andor, and I am not alone in this regard. I did cover this at the time, I believe it was a few months ago, about the fact that, Andor had the lowest audience demand of any live-action Star Wars show on Disney Plus, according to Parrot Analytics. It still trailed. Okay, I'll restart. Although its viewership, referring to The Mandalorian, although its viewership exceeded the recent Andor by close to 50%, it still trailed behind Obi Wan Kenobi and the Book of Boba Fett premieres by 28% and 2% respectively, while also falling short of Marvel Studios' Loki premiere by 35%. As shared by Samba TV, the first episode of Ewan McGregor's Jedi spinoff was viewed by 2.14 million U.S. households in the first 4 days. Meanwhile, the debuts of The Mandalorian Season 2 and The Book of Boba Fett were watched by 2.08 million and 1.5 million households, respectively. This data would seem to indicate Season 3, Episode 1 was viewed by just under 1.5 million households in the U.S. The disappointment comes after the original trailer for Season 3 overtook Obi Wan Kenobi to become, quote-unquote, easily the highest viewed trailer for a Disney Plus series in the galaxy far, far away. Samba TV collects its viewership data from a panel of over 3 million households across 25 million TVs. So the Mandalorian Season 3's low viewership explained. At the time of The Mandalorian Season 2, there were no other live-action Star Wars series, with the next not coming until The Book of Boba Fett around a year later. Since then, Disney Plus released 3 more live-action shows, including Boba Fett, Obi Wan Kenobi, and most recently Andor. With The Mandalorian Season 3 failing to live up to past highs, one has to wonder whether some sense of Star Wars fatigue, if that's even real, is beginning to settle in. This may well be one of the factors leading to this decline going into the blockbuster series' third go-around, but there are undoubtedly many others. For one, when The Mandalorian was last airing back in December 2020, Disney Plus didn't have the excess of movie-quality content it now does. The sophomore season came just weeks ahead of Marvel Studios' first dip into streaming with WandaVision, which has since been followed by 6 more live-action MCU series. The Mandalorian also doesn't have the benefit of starring a familiar character like Boba Fett or Obi Wan Kenobi, although Pedro Pascal's Din Djarin has turned into something of an icon in his own right over recent years, and that wouldn't explain why the series premiere had dipped compared to Season 2. The huge viewership that came with the debut trailer clearly points towards significant interest in the show, possibly even beyond that of Obi Wan Kenobi. So chances are this was just a rough start, and the audience numbers will grow across the coming episodes as the surprises unfold and excitement increases. Again, I think with this last paragraph, this is just a lot of wishful thinking. And here's why I think The Mandalorian Season 3 is suffering from low viewership. It comes from fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Now, let me go into that with a little more detail. Star Wars sequel trilogy comes out, episode 7, 8, 9. Butt fucking sucked. right? Then this little show called The Mandalorian debuts on Disney Plus. And everybody is raving about saying, it's better than the sequel trilogy. It's better than the sequel trilogy. Right? Losing their collective minds over the first episode of The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda, Baby Yoda, Baby Yoda. Right? You could not escape The Mandalorian at one point in time. It was an insanely popular show. And then season 2 comes out, and well, even season 2 damn it, I shouldn't have done my impression of a boss Nass. But anyway, season 2 of The Mandalorian comes out, and it's not really great until around episode 4, with the following episode 5, just being a backdoor pilot for the live-action Ahsoka series, and then it ends with Luke Skywalker leaving with Baby Yoda to go get trained. It's actually a pretty decent ending. Then the Book of Boba Fett comes out and completely undoes the second season finale of The Mandalorian. In fact, with an article from Variety basically confirming that The Mandalorian Season 3 might not make any sense if you haven't watched the Book of Boba Fett, which basically just leads to the fact, was the Book of Boba Fett just The Mandalorian Season 2.5? Right, and I refer to fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, with regards to the sequel trilogy being so bad compared to the first season of The Mandalorian that everybody lost their collective minds. Well, now you had the Book of Boba Fett come out, and that show was a butt-fucking train wreck to a point where you had the lead actor himself even admit in an interview, I believe it was with NME, that he talks way too much during the show. I'm going to play that clip for you right here.
Temuera, part of what made Boba Fett so cool and mysterious in the originals was how rarely he spoke. How did you go about keeping that edginess while adding all the dialogue in for the new series?
Yes, I wasn't very successful. I was hoping not to say as much as I have already in the first 2 episodes. I speak far too much. In fact, in the beginning, I was trying to get past my lines on to Ming Na.
Yes,
and I'd always say, excuse me, director, I really feel that Ming Na should say these lines because I want to stay mysterious. Right. I want to stay quiet.
But then I caught on. He wasn't just trying to be a very generous actor, which he is. He was just trying to parlay some of the work to me.
Yes. Jerking his responsibility.
So yeah, but and even when because obviously John's one of the key writers. So and so sometimes I'd always say I think this is too much. I think this is too much. Then I'd go to, what was the other guy's name? Noah. I'd try and get.
Oh, Noah. Yes, Noah Noor. Mm-hmm.
I remember, of course, John actually went away to Atlanta, so I rang Noah that night and I said, Noah, the scene tomorrow, I'm talking too much. This Boba doesn't talk this much. Look, I've got all these paragraphs here. I think we should get rid of it. And John's gone to Atlanta, so don't tell him. And then next minute that morning on set, I get a call from Atlanta. John wants you to say all that dialogue, and he'll cut it out later. So he was even keeping an eye on us way back, from all areas. But again, I had to start talking, I guess, otherwise we had to fill in the gaps and give out a little bit of information. And right. Ming's such a wonderful person to share my thoughts with too. So, but yes, I think I did speak a bit too much in answer to your question.
And then you get some moments in the show that were so meme-worthy. Like, I believe it was in the 3rd episode when they were on the very colorful speeder bikes, and that led to the creation of glorious memes such as these, which, again, I did not create this meme. I ripped this straight off of YouTube, but I saw this meme going around at the time Book of Boba Fett episode 3 premiered.
Get up!
right? So Book of Boba Fett completely butt fucking sucked. Then Obi Wan Kenobi comes out, and it's basically just legal fan fiction. Well, to be fair, every Disney Star Wars project, right? Every Star Wars movie, TV show, animation, whatever that was created after October 30th, 2012 is nothing more than legal fan fiction. But still, Obi-Wan Kenobi comes out, and it is just insanely bad fan fiction. That if you try to explain the plot of Obi-Wan to anybody who has never seen it, they would write it off as really bad fan fiction. Right, Bail Organa seeks out Obi-Wan on Tatooine to try to get his assistance to go save Princess Leia, and then Darth Vader comes back, and they have 3 duels, right? It sounds like insanely bad fan fiction that anybody could come up with on the internet, but this is a legitimate Star Wars production. And then I said this a couple of minutes ago about Andor, is the fact that it's a prequel. It's a prequel series to a character from Rogue One that dies in the end. Something that nobody literally asked for. Therefore, it had the lowest audience demand of any live action Star Wars show, according to Parrot Analytics. Right? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I'm not falling for The Mandalorian Season 3. And you know what? The first season of The Mandalorian may have simply just benefited from right place, right time. Right? As I said, I said this a few minutes ago. The sequel trilogy, Star Wars Episodes 7, 8, and 9 were so abysmal that people were just craving anything that was competent from Disney Star Wars, and they got that with the first season of The Mandalorian. But they have failed to keep that momentum going. I argue that they failed completely by season 2, and then they really dropped the fucking ball with the Book of Boba Fett. And honestly, in the moment that really killed The Mandalorian for a lot of people was the public firing of Gina Carano, right? That was the one character that everybody wanted the spinoff for, was Cara Dune, but then nope, you've got to axe her because she made some quote-unquote politically insensitive tweets, despite the fact that Pedro Pascal has also made tweets and Instagram posts of very political nature, but Pedro Pascal did not get fired from the Mandalorian, but yet Gina Carano did. That rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and you do have to acknowledge that, where people just threw their hands up in the air and just said, "Fuck it, we're done with the Mandalorian." And then you saw after the firing of Gina Carano, all of the plans for everything revolving around the Mandalorian basically had to get scrapped. Like, Rangers of the New Republic is no longer coming out, and it was long rumored that was going to Gina Carano's Cara Dune was going to lead that particular series. But anyway, I think we spent enough time on The Mandalorian, and this is actually going to be a great segue to our next topic involving another thing in a galaxy far, far away. So stay tuned for that.